law is not any draconian or aggressive. It's the system by which we all, I mean, I would say this, but it's the system by which we all live. It's the foundation for a productive and stable society. And so principles of the law, and universally, it's not just the common law, the English-based system, but it's fascinating as international lawyers, I think we would all recognize in talking with our colleagues in the mainland, in Europe, who have a different legal system based more on statutes, ordinances, rather than judge-based pronouncements. But there are universal principles that apply. And so there's a stability to it. Commercially, yes, things are changing. Insolvency law probably is a good field this year. And but intellectual property rights protections, particularly in Asia, is tremendously important.
There are opportunities in many different parts of the legal practice, but based on my experience, I would advise students not to think too deeply into this. Something hot for this year, such as insolvency or intellectual property, might not be the case 3 or 4 years down the road. So I would rather hedge the risk very carefully and not just to over specialize and just get a general education in your JD degree in law school. And the second thing I see in the evolving legal world is that there is an increasing blending of these fields. So on any particular project, you would not be only focusing on, you will, as a specialist, eventually on a particular area of law, but then many issues would come up, and then you will see IP lawyers, M&A lawyers, litigators working on the same project, trying to solve the issues that arise together as a team. So we generally see that those who make best transactional lawyers, or at least in the Wall Street world, are those who are good communicators, who are good team players. And one thing that I particularly find important is they have to be really flexible and creative. So that is what a U.S. education is about.
The law educational system in the United States is different than it would be in Hong Kong or in England, but essentially we are the same age if one progresses through without taking a gap year or pursuing other activities. Essentially you're qualified around the ages of 24 or 25 in both England and in the U.S. As Daniel was suggesting, the law educational system in the United States, you would be 4 years at university in the United States, and the age that one is when one goes to the university in the U.S. is probably a year less than in England, but in the U.S. you're 18 roughly, and then 4 years you're graduating around the age of 21 or 22. One carries straight on to graduate school, which is what U.S. legal education is. When one says law school, that sounds a bit perhaps informal, but what law study in the United States is, it's a graduate degree, and it is not a relaxed activity at all. It's 3 years of full-time academic effort, and law study is quite intense. I think we'd all share that our first year in law school was a unique educational experience, and a challenge certainly was for me. And again, I think the United States is unique in the way that law study is conducted, because describing 4 years of university to obtain your university degree, and then 3 years of full-time academic work to obtain a Juris Doctor, which again is a graduate degree in the U.S. And then one sits for the exam in whichever state in the U.S. one wants to practice, is different than the system that's followed here in Hong Kong, of course, which is modeled on the English system of university degree, and then probably 1 year of law college study, and then the apprenticeship with practicing lawyers of another 2 years, and then one is qualified. And then if you were progressing through chronologically without any stopping along the way to do anything else, that you would be around 24 and 25 when you qualify, and that's again the same in the U.S. So the educational system is different. It leads to the same qualification, and probably largely, we can all debate the merits and the compare and contrast the benefits and the detriments of each system. They have both, but one again achieves the same result, and that is, as a common lawyer, you're grounded in the traditions and theories of English law as the genesis of this, and then we learn our own legal systems. And I think it would probably be fair to say that one learns to become a lawyer in practice as opposed to as much from law school.
When I made the decision to go to law school, I was a graduate student in physics, and I just finished my first year, and then I realized that I'd like to have a career. I didn't know what I would like to do at that point, but then I knew that having been trained as a physicist in England primarily, there were certain elements that's missing, and I thought that a legal education would make my education more complete in terms of being able to do the analysis, in terms of being able to write, to argue, and all these are very different training from what a scientific training would give me. And another reason why I wanted to go to law school was that I'm not so sure whether I want to be a lawyer, whether I want to be a corporate lawyer, a litigator, or not a lawyer at all. But then I knew that with a JD degree, that could open many options down the road. And indeed, I've seen options available at law school, available at different stages in my career path as a corporate lawyer.
My name is Jimmy Wang. I just wanted to know how much do you value work experience prior to attending law school? Because I generally hear that students like to apply straight out of college, going straight into right after they graduate from university, and looking for a job after they graduate from law school. So I just wanted to know the importance of work experience prior to that.
I think it's probably a little bit difficult for us to respond, Jimmy, completely, because we know a little bit about how the admissions process works, but we're not there in the room. I think the actual work experience itself, unless it's somewhat unusual or extraordinary, is not going to be as crucial. Again, I would have thought that law school admissions, when they had Virginia's application as a physicist, that would be greatly interesting to them, because there's not a huge number of physicists that are applying to admissions to U.S. law schools. But I don't think it's as important as it is for MBA admissions, for example, where they do look at the quality of what the job experience was prior to. But your activities as a student, if you're involved in an international charity or NGO type of activity, I think that would be useful. But just working for General Motors for a year, for example, is not something that they would find at all distinguishing.
You raised a very interesting question that we forgot to mention throughout the thing this morning. That is, actually there are two ways to become a U.S. lawyer. One way is to go through the JD program traditionally, and if you go through the JD program, normally prior work experience is not important, because most American JD students do not have work experience. So employers tend to look them equally and do not require work experience. And the other option to become U.S. lawyer is that you already you already get qualified. You finish a law degree, say in Hong Kong, or in the PRC, or in England. And then you apply to do an LLM degree in the States. And that's just a 9-month program.